Have you ever flipped through an old photo album and felt like you were stepping into a time machine? The laughter, the heartaches, the little moments you thought you'd forgotten, they all come rushing back. But what if I told you there's something even more powerful than photos for keeping those memories alive? Something that doesn't just preserve your story but actually strengthens your mind, your mood, and even your sense of purpose? That's right. We're talking about writing your life story. Now, before you think, "Oh, I'm no Hemingway," let me stop you right there. This isn't about writing a best-selling novel. It's about something far more important: you. Your experiences, your wisdom, the unique tapestry of your life. And here's the kicker. Studies show that seniors who write about their lives regularly have sharper memories, lower stress levels, and even stronger immune systems. Who wouldn't want that? So today, we're going to walk through 4 simple, stress-free steps to start your life story. No fancy degrees or expensive tools required. Just you, a pen, and the incredible journey you've already lived. Let's begin. First things first, let's tackle the biggest myth about life writing, that you need to start at the beginning. Birth, childhood, school. No wonder so many people give up by page 3. Here's a better idea. Start with what fires you up right now. Take my friend Evelyn, for example. She'd been putting off writing her story for years, overwhelmed by where to begin. Then one day, she smelled lilacs, the same scent as her mother's garden, and suddenly, she was scribbling about summers spent picking flowers and sneaking cookies from the jar. Those vivid, sensory memories became her launching pad. So here's your first step. Follow your senses. What's a smell, sound, or taste that instantly transports you? Maybe it's the tang of salt water from your first beach vacation, or the creak of your grandmother's rocking chair. Jot down just a paragraph or 2. No pressure to be profound. Just let your senses guide you. You'll be amazed at how one memory unlocks another. Now, if you're thinking, "But what if I get stuck?" Here's your secret weapon. Write letters you'll never send. That's right. Pretend you're talking to someone specific. Your younger self. A lost loved one. Even your future great-grandchild. Let me tell you about Frank, a viewer who wrote to us last month. After his wife passed, he felt like part of his story had vanished with her. So he started writing her letters. Updates about the grandkids, memories of their road trips, even apologies for arguments they'd long forgotten. "It's like she's still my confidant," he said. "And somehow, writing to her makes me feel closer to myself, too." Try this. Grab a notebook and address it to someone who's shaped your life. "Dear Dad, remember when you taught me to ride a bike?" Or, "Hey 25-year-old me, you won't believe what's coming." Letters take the pressure off. They're conversations, not chapters, and they'll help you uncover stories you didn't even realize were worth telling. Now, I know some of you might be thinking, what if I make mistakes? What if it's not perfect? Let me share something my grandfather used to say. A life story isn't a polished diamond, it's a patchwork quilt. The messy stitches are what make it yours. So here's your homework before we move forward. This week, try just one of these ideas. Follow a scent memory. Write a letter to your past. And if you're feeling brave, share a snippet in the comments. I'd love to read it. Because here's the truth, your story matters. Not just the highlights, but the stumbles, the quiet moments, the ordinary days that turned out to be extraordinary. And together, we're going to make sure it's told. You know, some of the most powerful stories aren't found in grand adventures or dramatic plot twists. They're hidden in the ordinary. The recipe your mother scribbled on the back of a grocery list, the ticket stub from a movie date with your first love, even the stubborn stain on your favorite apron from that time the pie filling bubbled over. These little things? They're time capsules. And they're your secret weapon for step 3. Let objects tell your story. Take Martha, a viewer from Texas. She'd been staring at blank pages for weeks, unsure where to begin, until she opened her late husband's toolbox. The smell of sawdust and motor oil hit her, and suddenly, she was writing about the dollhouse he'd built for their daughter, nail by nail, while working night shifts. I could hear his laugh again, she told me. And for the first time in years, I didn't feel alone. So here's your challenge: raid your attic. Dig through that junk drawer. Find one object that makes your heart skip a beat. A brooch, a baseball glove, a chipped teacup, and let it talk. Write about where it came from, why it mattered, and what it still says about you. No rules, no grammar police, just you and the memories it unlocks. Take this postcard, for instance. It's from my Aunt Louise, sent in 1987. On the back? 3 words: Paris is rainy. That's it. But every time I see it, I remember how she secretly mailed it to herself because she was too shy to talk to strangers. That's the magic of objects. They're not just things, they're proof you've lived. Now, let's tackle the biggest roadblock I hear from folks. What if I can't remember everything? Let me tell you a secret. Your life story isn't a history textbook. It's okay if the dates get fuzzy or the details blur. In fact, that's where step 4 comes in. Embrace the gaps. My neighbor Walter taught me this. He'd been agonizing over his World War II service records, trying to nail down exact dates and troop numbers. Then his granddaughter asked him, "Grandpa, what did it feel like to be 19 and scared on a ship in the middle of the ocean?" That question changed everything. Suddenly, he was writing about the taste of stale biscuits in the mess hall, the way the fog clung to his uniform, the letters from home that smelled like his mother's rose garden. The lesson? Don't get bogged down in facts. Write the texture of your memories, the emotions, the sensations, the colors. Did your first kiss taste like peppermint gum? Did the air smell like diesel on the day you moved to the city? Those details? They're the soul of your story. And here's a tip: if the blank page intimidates you, talk instead of write. Grab an old tape recorder or your phone's voice memo app. Tell your story out loud while you're knitting, gardening, or stirring soup. You'd be amazed how the words flow when your hands are busy and your heart is open. One of our subscribers, Gloria, does this while baking her famous apple crisp. She records herself reminiscing about teaching her son to ride a bike, then transcribes it later. "Talking feels like chatting with a friend," she said. "Writing it down feels like giving myself a gift." Now, I want you to look at this quilt. See how some stitches are crooked? How a few patches don't quite match? That's what makes it beautiful. Your life story is the same. Maybe you don't remember your 3rd grade teacher's name, or you mix up the timeline of your first job. That's okay. Perfection isn't the goal, meaning is. So this week, try this. Pick one object that whispers to you. Let it pull a memory to the surface and write or speak. Just 3 sentences about it. Not 3 pages, 3 sentences. And if that memory leads to another, consider it a bonus chapter. Before we wrap up, I want to hear from you. Have you found an object that sparked a flood of memories? Or discovered that speaking your story feels easier than writing it? Share your moments in the comments. You might inspire someone else to pick up that pen, that photo, that long-forgotten heirloom. And remember, your story isn't just for you. It's a legacy, a lighthouse, a love letter to the people who matter most. Let's keep shining that light together. Imagine this: 100 years from now, your great-granddaughter opens a box. Inside, she finds your words, your laughter, your struggles, the quiet moments that shaped you. She reads about the summer you fell in love, the recipe you burned beyond recognition, the way the stars looked on the night you realized life was bigger than you'd ever dreamed. And suddenly, she knows you. Not just as a name in a family tree, but as a person. That's the power of writing your life story. Over these last few chats, we've explored 4 simple ways to begin: sensory prompts, unsent letters, objects as memory keys, and embracing the gaps. But today, I want to talk about the most important step of all: giving yourself permission. Permission to be messy, to be imperfect, to write your truth, not someone else's version of it. Take my friend Helen. At 78, she'd convinced herself her life was too ordinary to write about. Then her grandson asked, Grandma, what was it like raising Dad in the 70s? She started jotting down snippets, how she'd hang laundry while listening to Elvis, the way her kitchen smelled like burnt toast and baby powder. When she shared those pages, her family devoured them. "We had no idea you lived through so much," her son said. Helen's ordinary stories became their most treasured heirloom. So here's your final lesson. Your story isn't about grand achievements. It's about the heartbeat of your days, the burnt toast, the Elvis records, the laundry flapping in the wind. That's what connects us. That's what lasts. Now, if you're thinking, but where do I keep all these stories? Don't overcomplicate it. A shoebox works. A 3-ring binder. Even a folder on your computer titled, "For the Curious." The goal isn't to publish, it's to preserve. And if you're feeling stuck, try this. End each entry with a question for your future reader. What would you have done in my shoes? Or, can you guess what happened next? It turns writing into a conversation across time. I'll never forget the note I got from a viewer named Ray. He'd started writing after his Parkinson's diagnosis, worried he'd forget his own life. One day, his hands shaking, he penned a letter to his teenage self. "Kid, you'll survive the war, fall in love twice, and build a porch where your grandkids will eat popsicles." He told me, writing didn't just save my memories, it reminded me I'm still here, still living. That's the gift of your story. It's not just a record of the past, it's proof you're alive, right now in this moment. And every word you write is a rebellion against forgetfulness, a celebration of the journey. So here's my challenge to you. Pick up that pen, that recorder, that dusty journal hiding in your drawer. Write one sentence, one memory, one ordinary moment that's anything but. And if doubt whispers, who cares? You tell it, I do. My family does. The future does. When you're ready, share a line or two in the comments. Tell us about the smell of your mother's kitchen or the way the light fell on your wedding day. Your words might inspire someone else to begin. And if you've found value here, hit like, share this with a friend, and subscribe. We've got so many more stories to tell together. As the sun sets on our time here, I'll leave you with this. Your life is a garden. Every memory, every scar, every joy is a seed. Plant them boldly, tend them with love, and trust that long after you're gone, they'll bloom in hearts you've never met. Here's to your story. May it grow wild, beautiful, and endlessly true.